I do not condone or encourage the use of the substances discussed in this video. This video is for educational purposes only. Psychedelics. We all know them. We've all heard about them. Some of us more familiar than others. But what is so special about these substances? Well, I'm going to be talking to you guys about 3 big boy substances that fall under the psychedelic category. 3 substances I'm going to be talking to you guys about are going to be mushrooms or psilocybin. Next is going to be DMT, also known as the spirit molecule. Then last, we have salvia, which I consider to be the real devil's lettuce. This stuff came straight from hell. If there's anything you take away from this video, stay away from salvia. Never, never, ever. I have nothing good to say about that. Now, I'm not going to go super in-depth into all these substances. I'm just going to highlight some key things about each of them. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the #1 fan favorite, MVP, certified GOAT, mushrooms. So what makes mushrooms so special? Unfortunately, they will not make you grow from 5'11" to 6 foot. So sorry to crush your hopes and dreams with that. But what they will do is help you grow on the inside as a person, which is what really matters. The key highlight of mushrooms and why they're so popular are the benefits they provide to mental health issues. These bad boys are like the antidepressants of nature. All right, they help with almost everything. They're constantly being used to treat mental health issues such as PTSD, depression, anxiety, addiction. But how are they able to do this? Well, mushrooms like to dig into your subconscious mind and bring up anything that you suppress, all your problems and issues that you don't really have the strength to address yourself. And they grab them and just throw them in your face, basically forcing you to face them whether you want to or not. Now, LSD can have pretty similar effects, but they are a little different. The main difference between an LSD trip and a mushroom trip, with an LSD trip, you can kind of control how the trip is going. Whereas with a mushroom trip, they control your trip. Like you're guided by them. They take you on the ride. You have no say-so whatsoever. You can get what you want out of an LSD trip, but with a mushroom trip, you get what you need, if that makes any sense. They both do share a key component that helps with this enlightenment journey. And that is called the ego death. Yeah. It's an ego death. Sounds kind of scary, but I promise it's a good thing. But what is an ego death? Well, an ego death is basically when you lose your sense of self, which on paper doesn't really sound like a good thing, but it allows you to see things for the bigger picture. By this, I mean you're able to think about things without your personal biases coming in to intervene with your comprehension, which is perfect for some much needed self-reflection. I've heard stories of people during their ego death literally have their personality split into multiple different forms of itself so they can pinpoint, dissect every little intricate part about themselves, which is really good for facing problems about yourself that you don't really want to face until it's thrown in your face and you have no choice. It's a lot of faces. But I've been talking about that for too long, so let's go on next to DMT, or the spirit molecule. DMT is pretty interesting because your brain actually produces DMT on its own. And while your brain doesn't produce enough DMT to provide any sort of psychedelic effect, yeah, don't worry, you're not constantly tripping and like everything you see isn't just a fabrication of your brain, I promise. But DMT trips are very, very intense. Thankfully, to counter this, they are also extremely short, only like a few minutes long. But descriptions of DMT trips are very otherworldly, I guess, for lack of a better term. A lot of these trips will report being sent to alternate dimensions, seeing different entities. The landscaping of these alternate dimensions that these people are experiencing are actually very similar amongst different people. Actually, a DMT program being conducted by Medicinal Mindfulness. This program pretty much involves putting people through extended DMT experiences. They do this by adding a constant and consistent supply of DMT to a person's brain. So instead of a DMT trip lasting only a few minutes, their trips can last hours upon hours. This has allowed them to sort of get a better idea of what their trip is like once they're done so they can describe it better. And the landscaping that they see, or these alternate dimensions, are actually pretty consistent amongst different people to where they're almost able to map out a DMT plane, if you will. Another cool thing about DMT is it's believed to influence near-death experiences. And there's still research being done about this, but this is because it is believed that when someone is near death or experiencing death, the DMT levels that their brain produces begins to spike, causing hallucinatory experiences, and thus explaining the out-of-body experiences that come along with a lot of near-death stories, as well as the experience of different interpretations of heaven and hell Yeah, the effects of DMT are pretty cool. But now we're going to talk about something that is not so cool. That is going to be salvia. And the reason why I chose to bring up salvia is because I feel like it is a prime example of why you need to respect these substances and understand them before ever thinking about partaking in the use of them. Because back in the good old double O's, people thought that salvia was just some alternate synthetic cannabinoid like spice. This is because smoke shops were allowed to just sell them to anybody. People would walk in there and think, oh, it's just some legal high alternative. Sure, that seems fine. Not knowing that it literally sends you to the nether realm. And I'm not joking. I have read a lot of trip reports. All right, you can find them everywhere online. YouTube as well has a lot of good ones. But I have never, and I mean never, seen a good salvia trip report. Nothing positive comes from taking this substance. The best part about a salvia trip is when it's over. You realize you weren't actually stuck in the upside down getting chased by Freddy Krueger while he's riding a Demogorgon. A lot of psychonauts actually like to say that their most profound experience is through salvia. They don't mean this in a positive way whatsoever. They just mean it's the scariest thing that they've ever had to endure in their entire life. Yeah, basically never do salvia. That's all the yapping I'm gonna be doing about these substances. But in the case that I did pique your interest in the more positive and beneficial substances, I must now give you a fair warning. These substances are no joke, okay? These are above you. When you partake in the use of these substances, you are playing with fire. While yes, it may provide benefits and provide a sense of comfort and warmth, if you mess around too much and don't respect them, you will get burned. No amount of Vaseline is going to repair the permanent damage caused on your psyche. And they're also extremely illegal in a lot of places, so just don't do that, preferably. Yeah, that's the end. Thank you.